Just for the record, we need to give proof that this interview was conducted to our teachers. So, could you please state your name and your profession?
Uh, Hello, I am Philosophical Tetsu. You all know from YouTube. My real name is Subrazil, and I am a professor. I am a computer science professor, but I generally make philosophy oriented content on YouTube and Instagram. But yeah, I am not restricted to only philosophy. I talk about pop culture, human genuine tendency towards nihilism and other contexts of psychology as well sometimes. So yeah, this is I have a broad range of content ideas. Right. Yeah, we can continue talking.
Could you tell us a little more about yourself?
Um, I started making content back in 2022 and in December 2022 when the FIFA World Cup was going on. And back then, I started making content generally on manga, anime related, and my philosophical dialogue on the context of the mangas. But traditionally, I shifted my content ideas a bit after 2023 because I felt like limiting yourself to such smaller or narrowing content ideas often doesn't bring you enough creative field or creative audiences as well because you will limit yourself. You will often limit your content ideas and content like most of the आज के टाइम पे तुम देखो ना जो लोग YouTube पे vlog content डालते हैं most of them are limiting themselves to only one kind of people who are watching their videos. After a certain point, their content will be saturated. Most of the vloggers have discontinued making content as well. Gamers के भी same चीज हो चुकी है. Again, the biggest advantage of philosophical or psychological domain is that you have so many things to talk about and about human life now. Then you have no saturation point because until you are alive in your life, you will be talking about yourself and the others' lives.
There's always something.
Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, that's the point. And back in 2022, I started making content. Before that, I was a normal engineer's life. I was leading. Life was quite good. I had my responsibilities and my relationship with my girlfriend, my family, my parents, my friends. I have a limited friend zone. I am not very comfortable to make everyone my friend. But yeah, and that's the thing. After a certain point when you are enough mature, I believe your comfort zone shrinks.
Fair.
And yeah,
Great.
and your professional zone increases. You have a professional relationship with everyone, but not everyone you can call a friend. Definitely. So yeah.
How exactly did you get into philosophy?
Mm, it was never a point where I can remember that this was the particular philosophical book I read first time. But I can say, since I am a Bengali in West Bengal, you all know that Bengal is a place of literacy. Like many writers and directors came from Bengal and Kolkata specifically. So क्या है ना बंगाल पे since our childhood we read about Rabindranath Tagore, we read about Sarat Chandra Chattopadhyay who wrote Devdas, okay, infamously Devdas, and many others like Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay who wrote Chander Pahad, one of the greatest novels of Bengali literature. And since that time, when I was only barely 8 or 9 years old, my interest towards literature was very high, very high. Despite being a science student, I was more aligned to science factor. But वो होता है ना एक paradoxical thing कि एक science का student is more attracted towards literature because it
Relatable.
somehow
Relatable.
contemplates my inner writer. So क्या है ना मतलब जब से मैं छोटा था लिखने का बहुत मन था तो poetry, art, literature, painting, and my mother is in the field of music, so she inspired my artistic self a lot. So from that point of time, I started talking about philosophy. In the school, I had barely some friends, and we used to discuss on the human morality, genuinely on the context of society. And I was into protest poetry, rapping culture as well. Hip hop मुझे बहुत attract करता है, अभी भी करता है बहुत. तो क्या है ना मतलब वहां से ही थोड़ा like context of thinking and context of like रिफ्लेक्शन वो थोड़ा क्रिएट हुआ था। लेकिन फिलोसॉफी ट्रेडिशनली मैंने घुसा फिलोसॉफी में व्हेन आई वाज 18 years old, when I was in first year of the college. Some of my friends and me used to talk about Friedrich Nietzsche, Immanuel Kant, and some Indian philosophers as well, like for example Adi Shankaracharya. लेकिन थोड़ा मेरा गैप हो गया था बैक इन 2019, मेरा थोड़ा गैप हो गया था उस फेज पे, मैं उतना फिलोसॉफी में इंटरेस्टेड नहीं था। तो उसके बाद जब लॉकडाउन आया 2020, आई अगेन स्टार्टेड लाइक फीलिंग माई सेल्फ अप, क्योंकि कुछ नहीं था, घर पे बैठे थे और लाइक दिमाग को कुछ तो देना पड़ेगा। ऑलवेज आवर ब्रेन इज लाइक सच अ थिंग, इफ यू मेक इट लेजी इट विल बी ऑलवेज स्टे लेजी।
Yes.
So you have to run your brain constantly, right? You are young guys, like you are in class 9, 10. So at this point, I believe that you should be feeding your brain as much as possible. Okay.
True.
Because your brain is young brain and it can take as much as like philosophical domains, dialogue, discourses as much possible.
Well
After a certain point ना saturation आ जाता है। Like for example मैंने देखा है 21 के बाद ना थोड़ा लर्निंग प्रोसेस स्लो कर देना चाहिए। अगर फास्ट करोगे तो क्या होता है, ओवर इन्फॉर्मेशन का चांसेस बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है एक पॉइंट के बाद। तो truly I believe that philosophy is such a thing. You should be starting learning from 16, 15, 16. Your age is quite fine for starting
Yeah.
philosophy. Yeah.
So let's go a little deeper into knowing you. So we'd like to do a quick rapid fire round on pop
Yeah,
culture.
yes.
Are you
Sure,
ready?
Yeah, definitely.
Kriya, go ahead.
Sure. So obviously you blend philosophy and anime, so you must be watching anime.
Yeah, I know.
So what do you prefer, sub or dub?
Sub, definitely sub. But some animes have a really good dub, like Steins Gate, Vinland Saga, Attack on Titan have really good dub.
Now let's go quick, okay? Like as fast as you can. Second
Yeah.
question.
Tokyo or Konoha?
Konoha.
Shonen, seinen, or slice of life?
Seinen,
Your goat anime?
Vinland Saga.
Underrated manga that really deserves an anime?
Wasume Punpun.
Best written villain?
Aizen.
One anime character that you will definitely punch in the face?
Chizuru.
Most beautiful anime scene that you've ever watched?
Soyo Isida crying from A Silent Voice. That hit me a lot at the end of
What
the movie.
was the most emotionally destroyed that you felt after a character's death?
After a character's death.
Yes.
There are many. In the specifically Naruto being a lot of my in the childhood, I used to watch Naruto a lot. So Naruto's characters, specifically the death of Itachi, I remember I was so young. But particularly, I can
Nice
remember
speaking.
one character's death which hit me a lot was I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, the girl. When she died, it felt like it was a very personal loss, I believe that. Or maybe in the Grave of the Fireflies also, the death of Setsuko was very deep and very much philosophical in my opinion. So Grave of Fireflies, definitely.
Yep.
You said that you watched anime as a child. So, what was the first anime that you ever watched?
First anime when I understood this is an anime should be Death Note. But before that, I used to watch Pokemon, Beyblade, Ranma Half, these animes.
And last question. So, do you believe that anime is philosophy in disguise?
Yeah, definitely. Every form of art. After all, anime, what is anime? Anime is the reflection of art, artistic like beauty of the animators and the brain of a mangaka. So if the mangaka is deeply intriguing into the concept of human living and human understanding or the existentialism, so I believe that the anime can be a form of art and it is a form of art. So definitely we should be taking anime as more of a lesson rather than just pass on and entertainment. Yeah, there are multiple mainstream animes which are made for purely entertainment purpose. But apart from that, if you go back to the 90s animes, for example, Cowboy Bebop, For example, Samurai Champ, the 90s animes. For example, Akira. Akira has been one of the most influential anime movies of my life. So those movies are immaculate, immaculate in the context of how human suffering is being represented. So yeah, definitely, anime is the philosophical epitome. So
Quite profound.
yes, definitely.
Okay. Is that it, Kriya?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a quick, fun
Yeah,
icebreaker.
it was fun, real fun.
Thank you. Now we'll get into the main topic, okay?
Yeah.
Master and slave morality. So, what do you know about master and slave morality and how did you come across it?
Mainly, the concept of master and slave morality I came across back in 2022 when I used to talk with one of my, not used to, I still talk with that friend a lot about these things, because whenever we go outside, he and me actually share a lot common in the reflection of the society, how we understand the reality of the society. So, master or slave morality, basically, when I started reading Beyond Good and Evil, and specifically, I will be mentioning Nietzsche's one of my personal favorite books on the genealogy of morality.
Yes.
Here, he traditionally calls one thing that slave revolt in morality. Okay. So, the slave revolt in morality, what it means that the master will be always a self affirming noble being who calls themselves good. And the slave will always be a poor, petty guy who will be submitting towards the master and calling master an evil. So, if you go back to the Christian Europe or the medieval Europe, Christianity actually promoted a lot about slave morality. Okay. Now you have to understand the basic Judeo Christian moral backbone. It was fundamentally created around Platonic values. Plato. If you read Plato's books and Plato's discourses of morality, it is very similar to Judeo Christian morality.
Yes.
Okay. So it is evident that why many Christian philosophers actually defended Plato, while most of the rationalist philosophers or atheistic philosophers like Nietzsche, like Rene Descartes, were against Plato. So Platonic values actually believed in moral absolutism, where Nietzsche or most of the Western philosophers were against moral absolutism. If you present day see the like Western Europe, it is the same thing. Still, there is moral absolutism in the Western Europe. And this is what disturbs me a lot. I am not a guy who believes in moral absolutism a lot. I believe moral flexibility, moral relativity, because morality cannot be really called by any kind of certain domain or certain criteria. This is very much shaped by human experience, humility, like power, greatness, these things. Okay. Now, what happens now when you try to impose moral superiority over someone else by showing some good nature, like, for example, humility, pitiness, equality, meekness, or suffering as virtues? Okay. Virtue philosophy is very different from Nietzsche's philosophy. Nietzsche was very much against the traditional understanding of virtue, while he himself promoted strength, honor, nobility, these things. Okay. So, according to Nietzsche, the personal suffering shapes humans' morality a lot, right? Because Nietzsche himself said that all suffering is the path to greatness. Similar to Eastern philosophy, very much. Now, what happens? This is the basic fundamental difference between Abrahamic morality and the Dharmic morality of Eastern Europe.
Yes.
Like, if you come to Asia, if you see the land of India, if you see the land of China, if you see the land of Japan, the concept of morality is very different from the Western world, because Western world, the fundamental of philosophy was created from Greece, and you all know Greece का history क्या था? बहुत ही barbaric. It was very much brutal. The cities used to fight with each other. So the fundamental moral understanding came from complete opposite thing. क्या था कि हम लोग greatness को छोड़ के we will not fight, we will be promoting like humility, pitiness, equality, what Plato also said. Now Nietzsche क्या था? Nietzsche was against this thing. Nietzsche said that these things actually tormented Christian values a lot, made Christians a lot orthodox, and they are self hypocrite being who actually promotes other people or the slaves to become humid, like promote humility, this kind of values of human beings. But rather than there will be some selective people who will be calling themselves as masters and ruling over them. Okay. But if you come back to the India or come back to any other countries in Asia where the dharmic philosophy was more evident, like mainly two philosophies, the Hindu philosophy and the Buddhist philosophy, these two always promoted equality in the two sectors of slave and master both. जैसे तुम लोग अगर महाभारत पढ़ोगे, महाभारत में तुमको ह्यूमिलिटी भी मिलेगा. You will get the humility of Lord Krishna, and you will be getting the very much क्या बोलूं, very much virtuous self of Lord Krishna, where he was influencing Arjuna to fight for protecting the dharma. This kind of values you will never find in the Western world, because Western world was not coming from such ideals. Ideals, when the ideals are not that great, na, there will be an evidential chances that it will decline over the time. Like for example, Plato banned the concept of Homer. ओके, होमर्स राइटिंग जो थे ओडिसियस के स्टोरी या तुम अकिलियस का स्टोरी बोलो, लाइक इलियड एंड ओडिसी, प्लेटो completely banned them. You know why? Because Plato understood these things are very much detrimental for humans' humility towards the God. They will never worship God. They will never see the greatness is God. Because Homer represented gods as human beings. Like in the Odyssey as well, if you see the gods, they are very much like human beings. Just like in Indian like subcontinent as well. If you see the gods, they are like us. They are like mere representation or the
Indeed.
imagery of God. Lord Krishna is nothing but he himself is a human being. He died. He also died, just like human beings. But in the Abrahamic concept, God cannot die. God's death is mere representation of a failure. But here, God's death is very different. God's death is not failure, rather, God's death is the closer of a story back to the start.
The conclusion, yes.
Yes, conclusion. Exactly. So, according to that context, Nietzsche wanted to divide the society into two sectors where the herd will follow the traditional values, humility, these kind of things, and they will never revolt. And the master will always impose their moral superiority over the slaves. This is the simple concept. Yeah.
You know, you spoke about how stories and epics, they directly influence the morality of the youth and the population. So I wanted to ask you if morality is strictly empirical or rational. What do you think?
This is a bit questionable till date because it depends very much. Me, I am not a very fan of rational morality because morality, in my opinion, can never be rational. Okay. The most rational decision for you can be most irrational decision for someone else.
True.
So, rationality, in my opinion, empirical rationality is more important. If you read the studies of David Hume infamously contradicted with the concept of rationality because according to him, rationality reduces humans' overall existence to only logical boundary. Okay. And Nietzsche was such a guy, na, he never wanted rationalism as well because Nietzsche actually hated rationalist people. So Nietzsche's understanding of morality came more from empiricist side, not rationalist side. He hated rationalism because according to him, logic cannot define morality. Logic can only define whether a decision coming from a moral background can be applied or not, can be evidential or not, according to that circumstances. So, in my opinion, like morality is such a concept that can never be rational. It always shall be empirical. Although empirical morality is also questionable because from that point of view, multiple actions of human being which come from moral background, they can never have an empirical evidence or empirical support or backbone. For example, the biggest example can be religious murders. Those are really coming from empirical backgrounds. They have their empirical evidences that I have this, my book said this. Yeah, my book gives me the audacity to kill people. But like a terrorist. What happened in Pahalgam? You saw many people died because of some bullshit ideological problems. Okay.
Yes.
So these are the things. They are not rational beings. They are more empirical beings because they have their own evidences. They will say, yeah, my God allows me to kill someone. But this is the problem. Again. Okay. So Nietzsche would have disagreed with both empirical or rational because Kant himself said that morality cannot be rational or empirical. Morality is more like an abstraction which is created by the society,
Hmm.
which goes beyond rational or empirical evidences.
All right. Kriya?
So the next question that we have is, what all could be some of the major issues that you think with this topic, and how would you solve it?
देखो द थिंग इज कि ना स्लेव मोरालिटी और मास्टर मोरालिटी का कुछ सॉल्यूशन एक तरीके से नहीं हम लोग बोल सकते वी कैन नॉट रियली से दैट morality is a like morality can be solvable right now even in the context of religion or in the context of science and in the blurred zone of philosophy there is no true solution to human dilemma, in my opinion. Because if you go back to the philosophical ideological backbones, like for example, communism or for example, fascism is very much fundamentally linked to the concept of master morality or the misinterpretation of master morality.
Yes.
You all know how Hitler misused the concept of master morality.
Yes.
And the more like racial supremacy concept.
Hmm.
तो मेरे मुताबिक मोरल डिलेमास का कोई सॉल्यूशन नहीं है क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली if you reduce a philosophical thought to ideology to apply on the society because you cannot really imply philosophy raw into the society नॉर्मल लोग जो होते हैं ना उनको फिलोसॉफी के बारे में उतना पता नहीं होता ओके इफ यू गो टू योर स्कूल एंड यू टॉक टू योर क्लासमेट्स अबाउट फिलोसॉफी वो लोग बोलेगा अरे क्या भांग बोल रहा है वो भाई कुछ दिमाग में नहीं घुसा
Real.
दिस इज वेरी कॉमन बोलते हो
Very
तुम लोग
related.
जब बात कर वेरी कॉमन
Hmm.
बिकॉज नॉर्मल लोगों के ब्रेन पे आइडियोलॉजी ज्यादा अच्छे से पेनिट्रेट करता है आइडियोलॉजी पेनिट्रेट्स इनसाइड ब्रेन वेरी इजीली यू सी द आइडियोलॉजिकल मूवमेंट्स ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड look at what happened to Iran. Look at what happened to the other countries. Look at what happened to USSR. Look at what is happening to USA right now. So ideology becomes very good political weapon and it can manipulate people very well. And the same thing, you cannot do it philosophy. That's why majority of the philosophical things are reduced to ideology for being abused by people. So in my opinion, there is no true solution to this rather than human enlightenment. पढ़ो, education is more important. बुक्स पढ़ो लोगों को अवेयर करो नहीं तो नहीं हो सिंपल we have to aware people more about these things like the legacy like the psychology behind master morality or slave morality Nietzsche's writings are more psychological than philosophical if you go to Nietzsche's writings Nietzsche's inspiration was Dostoevsky and Dostoevsky's writings are more psychological so Nietzsche's works are very tough to understand. That is the reason. If you compare his works to many other philosophers like Kierkegaard or, for example, Sartre, they are very simple to understand. But Nietzsche is very tough to understand because his works are very like psychological more than philosophical.
Yep.
Yes.
So honestly, we just need to raise awareness about it.
Yes, definitely. We need to raise awareness.
Okay. That's great. We're really like knee deep into this topic. So like let's take a quick break. Let's do another rapid fire round.
Okay, surely, sure.
But this time it's about philosophy.
Okay. Let's do.
So let's go as fast as you can, okay? Nietzsche or Albert Camus?
Nietzsche, because Camus is more into literature.
Okay. You live by one quote. What is it?
One must imagine Sisyphus happy.
Underrated philosopher that everyone should read, like in your circle.
David Hume?
Okay. Overrated philosopher.
Marx.
Yes, yes.
Karl Marx.
Plato's cave or Descartes' dream?
Descartes' dream. Definitely. I am not a big fan of Plato.
Stoicism or absurdism?
Absurdism. Anytime.
Yes. Would you take the red pill and stay in the matrix?
Controversial, but I will take
The blue
dark
pill?
capital as red pill.
Okay. Is free will an illusion or real?
Free will, okay. It is a necessity, in my opinion, which
Mm.
we always try to chase, but it is tough to attain.
Yes.
Yes,
Is morality social programming?
yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, I agree. Very good question. Very good question. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Is Sisyphus truly happy?
No, no,
Yeah.
not at all.
That's why we must imagine.
He would have punched Camus for saying that.
If Nietzsche got Twitter, how many days would it take him to get cancelled?
His Instagram account would have been
Yeah.
banned. Yeah, in a day, in a day.
No.
He was such a guy, na Nietzsche. One thing I like about Nietzsche, if you read his last book, Ecce Homo, I have that book. If you just go through the titles of the like context of the book, you will understand that at the end of his life, he was like, "Fuck this shit. I am just gonna write what I need to write."
Yes.
He was very true, genuine guy.
Just embrace the
Yeah,
absurd.
embraced genuine.
Hmm. In a boxing match between Diogenes and Plato, who would win?
The, Plato would have won because Plato was physically more powerful, but Diogenes would have caused more psychological damage to Plato
Yes.
after after being like thrown out of the wrestling ring.
Hmm. Can we actually be sure about anything?
Depends. Most of the time, no. But some of the times, I believe that human beings have so much innate intuition. I believe intuition works. Okay. So, intuition we have sometimes so strong that, yeah, sometimes it might work. Sometimes we can be sure about something. Certainty. Yes,
Yes,
that
yes.
can be certainty. Yeah.
Is it okay for people to get offended at art?
No, most of the time, no. There'll be some boundaries, but yeah, most of the time, no, in my opinion.
If your shadow self took over, which philosophy would you follow?
Shadow self. A radical Nietzschean philosophy.
Okay, okay. Reincarnation or oblivion?
Oblivion.
All right. Is truth more important than comfort?
Truth.
Okay. Does thinking too much ruin happiness?
Yes.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
All right, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get back.
Okay.
Kriya, go ahead.
So, according to you, in
Yes.
your opinion,
Yes. Yes.
is it wrong to want power, strength, or dominance if it benefits you and others?
Um, I believe that this concept of ethical framing of power, whether power is good or power is bad, it comes from a very notion of like authoritarianism in the human history. Because if you see the history of humanity, power is often very much problematic because whenever power comes, people gets used to abusing the power. Okay. For example, there are multiple examples like World War II. In the history of World War II, if you see, like Mussolini, like after World War II, Stalin, after before World War II, there was Bismarck. Okay.
Yes.
So it comes an innate nature. It comes with an innate nature that power might abuse humans in like intention or humans intention. Now it depends truly what you are, like what human being you are. You are more of a consequential guy, or you are more of a guy who believes on the moral dilemmas of a ruler. Okay. Like for example, I am giving you a scenario. Suppose I am a leader. I have to do something for my country. No matter how many people dies, I have to do. Now the consequences are very large, but the results might follow up multiple years of security to my land. Okay. Like for example, biggest example is Stalin's decision during World War II. Stalin just threw many people to the lands of World War II to curb the lands of Moscow from the Nazis. Okay, multiple Russian soldiers died, like millions. There were millions of numbers. So many people died. Many civilians died. But Stalin secured the land of USSR. So it depends. The consequences were great, but also it produced multiple dead bodies. So it really depends whether power can bring really good ideals. Power and ideals are often contradicted, but a good leader should always follow ideal values and the bigger consequences. But like for example, that is why I always recommend people reading Arthashastra more than Machiavelli's Prince, because Machiavellianism treats people like nothing. It doesn't bother about normal people, common people, because to the ruler, common people are mere interpretation of his thoughts. He can manipulate them. He can throw them to the in front of his enemies for his own security.
True.
Arthashastra goes beyond this. If you see the philosophy of Chanakya, Chanakya says that an ideal king should also value the lives of the other people. That is why we all know Chandragupta Maurya was one of the greatest kings of our land, right? He protected us from the Greek invasion. He protected us from multiple threats around India back that time. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, believe that there is no problem in gaining power or wishing for power, but you have to always be careful that whether you are using power more like a tool or power more like a force to cause goodness.
That's so true. The intentions hold
Yes.
weight.
Intentions.
Yes,
In
that's right.
power, intentions matters more than consequences.
Okay. Is staying true to yourself more important than fitting in or conforming?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Staying true to yourself is very important. Most of us, like you all are very young right now. If you go to colleges, na, तुम दोनों जब college जाओगे, you will see multiple people putting up a mask in front of you. Even in school right now, you will see such people. But college में क्या होता है ना, तुम लोग भी 18, 19 years old हो जाओगे, तुम लोग और भी ज़्यादा देख पाओगे कि people put on a mask in front of you. So this veil, you cannot really penetrate this very well, very easily. तो लोग ज्यादा प्रिटेंसियस होते हैं, और ज्यादा प्रिटेंसियस जब भी होते हैं ना, लोग कॉन्फॉर्मिटी चेस करते हैं. Bunch of seed, bunch of herd. You will see always people staying in a herd. Despite human being are very much social beings, we are very much social beings. हम लोग सोसाइटी का कॉन्सेप्ट ही वही है. हम लोग बंच में रहने के लिए बने हुए हैं. But in my opinion, all the greatness lies on the people who can really say on the face of other people that no, you are wrong. You have to stay true. तुम लोग देखो, in the world of science, in the world of philosophy as well, there are multiple few people who have rejected the conformity. Biggest example, Tesla. Tesla died. Tesla died. He never like submitted to the bourgeois concepts of industrial revolution. But nowadays, Tesla is getting like he is taken seriously because he back that time Tesla rejected the traditional conformity. So conformity को chase करना एक बहुत ही problematic take है, in my opinion. You have to be. I'm not saying you have to be a wannabe different always, but yeah, sometimes you have to genuinely draw a line between conformity and your authenticity. Yes. Authenticity. Art पे तुम लोगों को सबसे ज्यादा authenticity मिलेगा. If you go to Van Gogh's art style is very authentic. If you go to Beethoven's music, unique, immaculate. He could not hear. He was almost 90%. He lost his hearing capability.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So despite that, he never submitted to his like to his disability.
Okay, so I'll continue with the next question.
Yes, definitely.
Do you think that confidence, pride, and ambition are positive traits, or can they be dangerous?
Good question.
Yeah, definitely. I understood that from my thoughts or from my observation of the society, I have seen that confidence, pride, ambition, these are three fundamental things of human beings which drive you to creativity a lot. Okay. These people become a lot influencing. Okay. For example, biggest example is Cristiano Ronaldo. If you see, there are multiple people who hates Cristiano Ronaldo for his extreme pride or extreme ambition. Okay. But they often forget one thing, that Ronaldo brings in new authenticity as well. Okay. He creates his own value. Like most of the influential men in the history of humanity, they had extreme confidence on themselves. And yeah, they were detrimental. They eventually were the reason why they fell. Biggest example, Napoleon Bonaparte. He was extremely confident about the invasion of Russia. But after what happened to Napoleon after the Russian invasion? He was
Watched it.
completely a failure. Yes, he was completely a failure. Okay. Same goes for Raja Harshvardhan of India. He was extremely confident of defeating the Bengali king called Sasank, but he lost to Sasank in all of the conflicts in the history. So yeah, pride, confidence, ambition, these things are very important. But with that comes one more thing, that is systematic understanding and channeling out your pride in a proper way. Okay. Like pride can often be misregarded as narcissism as well. Okay. So most of the people who are more prideful about them, you will find the traits of narcissism, at least the minor narcissistic grounds. You will find them. But in my opinion, that can be allowed because most of us, I have seen that even including me, are level one narcissists. People love themselves. Then there is nothing wrong about it.
True.
Okay. People love themselves and there is nothing wrong about it. But what is wrong that you enforce your narcissism, confidence, pride, ambition on someone else. For my ambition, I am destroying someone else's life and I am just throwing out all my rage on someone else. That is wrong in my opinion.
True.
Yes.
That is not right.
It depends on the bigger picture. Yes.
This conversation so far, it has been really insightful.
Thank
It's
you.
quite constructive, and I actually got to absorb new perspectives. So great. Now I ask.
I am influenced from you all. Like you all are almost 10 years younger than me, and you all have such bright futures in front of you, and still you all have this innate interest on philosophy. I always wanted to make this because my goal of creating this page was not to just generate money from it. Actually, I generate almost nothing from this page on Instagram at least because Instagram pays nothing for posting.
Yes.
Of course.
So I genuinely created this space for reflecting myself and creating mass awareness. Just what I said to Kriya, that awareness, education is more important, knowledge is more important. So we have to bring talking, we have to bring genuine critical thinking. Okay. So this is important. And I love
Yes.
that you all are so young and you are bringing in new ideas, critical thinking, and it's really, really appreciating you all.
Because even we realized that it is a platform where we need to raise awareness because
Yes.
that will be beneficial.
True.
Not
At
only
least it
for
is
us.
better than OnlyFans now. Yes.
Yes.
Right now, so Instagram is such a nasty platform for like I will be calling pre-teenager, post-teenagers like you as well. You all are 15, 16 years old, and Instagram has become such a nasty platform. It is very unsafe for people like you. You all are so young, and it can misguide people very well. And under these dark scenarios, dark circumstances, you all are bringing in new light. It inspires me a lot as well because at your age, I was just watching Doraemon or or some animes like Code Geass maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I ask you the final question, the
Yes.
magnum opus.
Yes.
Do you think society rewards those who follow their own path or those who follow the rules?
Uh, Actually, the latter one, those who follow the rules. Okay. So, suppose I am just giving an example. Suppose Atharva, you are such a person who doesn't follow the rule, and Priya is such a person who follows the rule very well. Okay. Now, after 10 years, you are at my age, and you two both are into a certain field of engineering. Okay, and you all have been into corporate sector. Suppose now in corporate world, following rules is very important so that it maintains a hierarchy of power system. Okay. So the person who can bootlick the must, he or she will eventually hike up more and more. Okay. So see modern corporate culture, it is very toxic. Why people say it is very toxic? Because it doesn't let you be authentic. You have to always put up a mask in front of you, and you have to abide some rules, and after that you will be granted reward. Okay. But people doesn't understand this reward is very short term. This reward is not very long term. Or this reward is not constantly growing even. It is constantly eating you up. You will be coming home. You will be such a person who will be frustrated about yourself all the day. But you will always try to fit in your culture because you are being rewarded. Okay. So for कुछ कुछ बेयर अमाउंट ऑफ रिवॉर्ड्स के लिए तुम अपने आप का जो ऑथेंटिसिटी है यू आर लेटिंग दैट गो ओके now there are multiple people who have rejected the authenticity initially it brings a lot of suffering okay lot of suffering like years of hurdles years of suffering will then bring comfort in your life and even the comfort is not secure it is not secured as well when you are authentic to yourself. But at least you have to understand you are true to your art. Okay. So it depends whether you are passionate about your living or not. जब तुम फिट इन करते हो ना अपने आप के लिए तुम पैशनेट नहीं होते यू आर नॉट इनफ पैशनेट फॉर योर सेल्फ यू आर बीइंग पैशनेट फॉर समवन एल्स you are being like someone else's priorities more but you are not prioritizing your own values own dream own suffering suffer तुम दोनों तरफ ही कर रहे हो you when you are fitting in you are suffering as well because you are letting yourself go and when you are choosing your own path there is more suffering because there are no other people from whom you can derive inspiration or there might be very few people who will be saying कि हाँ भाई चल मैं तेरे साथ हूँ तू अपने काम पे लगा रहे ऐसे लोग नहीं मिलते कम मिलते तो दोनों तरफ ही सफरिंग है but you have to choose which suffering fits with your dreams more dreams are important and people must change their dreams with keeping themselves sane, not insanity. Okay. That is very important.
Yes.
Of course. So, I think that's it for the
Okay.
time. And
Okay.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking the time to
Thank you.
speak with us today.
Thank you,
It
Priya.
has
Thank
been
you, Atav.
honestly really inspiring to hear about your journey and the creativity that you blend philosophy and anime with.
Yes. Welcome. And I hope
Before we wrap up, would you like to give any advice to share with
To
any
the
young
to the
creators or the audience?
the only message I can say that at your age or even in the future, observe, don't absorb. Okay. My father said this almost like 7 or 8 years ago to me, and it is still with me because my father always says he is a professor as well. He is a professor of economics, and my father have taught multiple children throughout his life. So he saw more younger people than me. What he says, na, knowledge is such a thing. It is like a sea beach. You will be grabbing them like sands. Okay, so never give up on grabbing knowledge. Okay. Knowledge at a very young knowledge keeps your brain young. ब्रेन को जुवेनाइल रखता है और एक यंग ब्रेन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक एजिंग ब्रेन का ना कोई वैल्यू नहीं होता एक यंग ब्रेन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है और एक यंग ब्रेन के लिए यू हैव टू ऑब्जर्व यू हैव टू क्रिटिकली थिंक rather than absorbing it directly in your psyche absorption might be important might not be important but what must be important is observing the thing ऑब्जर्व करो अपने आसपास के लोगों को ऑब्जर्व कर एब्जॉर्ब मत कर दिस इज द ओनली एडवाइस आई कैन गिव यू टू ऑल ऑफ यू ओके सो अकर्व एंड प्रिया आई होप यू विल बी डूइंग ग्रेट इन योर फ्यूचर आई say you best of luck okay
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
thank you
Yes, that's it
welcome
for the day.
okay
Bye.
okay